Welcome to the In Between podcast. I'm really excited to be joined by Makayla Hopper, the founder
Thank you.
and photographer behind MacMo Photo Co. And if you've been following my business page, then you probably have seen Makayla because we've just been posting about each other nonstop. And we'll get into that and our wonderful relationship. But I wanted to give a little intro about Makayla. So after leaving a career in project management and administration, Makayla went all in on her passion for capturing real, timeless moments. She's based in Las Vegas, and she's known for making people feel comfortable, connected, and truly seen both behind the camera and I would say just in real life, because haven't been behind the camera with her yet, but she is so authentic and just the best human. And she turns every session into an experience, not just a photo shoot. And I'm so excited to have Makayla on the In Between podcast. So welcome to the In
Yay.
Between podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This has been a long
Wow.
time coming.
Yeah, we've been working together now like this year, and I'm just so grateful for you and everything that we've been creating together. I feel
Yes.
like uh how have we only known each other, how long we've known each other? It feels
I
like we've
know.
been friends forever, and we call each other all the time, and we're always talking business things. And so thanks for having me. I'm
Oh
excited.
my gosh, I'm excited. Well,
Yeah.
I want to talk about first, like the chaos of how we met, because I want people to understand that you have to build like your business family. And even if I come from a family of two business owners and they're from a different generation, none of their stuff is like our businesses are just so different, right? And so finding people, especially in a similar place than you, both personally and professionally, is just so incredible. So I had went to a mastermind networking kind of event, and I had met Makayla. Honestly, I don't even think we met face to face at that specific day. We kind of just were in the group, we were introducing ourselves. And every time I go into networking events, and I've said this before on the podcast, like I always try to just drop into my body and choose one person that's sticking out to me that I need to like connect with. And it's been a great, useful tool for networking. Takes the pressure off of me. And so I sit down, you had come in a little late, and immediately it was like my whole body was like, you need to connect with Makayla. Then Makayla sits down and she's having maybe one of the worst days of her life, going through it, all the things, personal, professional, coming off a broken ankle, like literally is blowing her life up and restarting everything. And I'm like, really? This, like, I have to reach out to this girl. Like, she's probably not going to want to connect. And I was just like, you know what? If she says no, I'm going to leave that open to what she's experiencing going on in her life. And you ended up saying yes. We ended up having a really good coffee date and just getting to know each other. And then I feel like just our visions aligned so much. And then since then, our friendship and relationship has grown and elevated. But I would love to hear your perspective of that. Because for me, I was sitting there like, this poor girl, like she's going through so much. The last thing she needs is like some random girl to buy her coffee. Like, what is happening? But
Yeah,
I
I
had to do
know.
it.
I always laugh like I'm so grateful for that day. And I did. I came in like raw, and I've always stood behind being authentic, and regardless of what I'm going through, like I'm not going to pretend. I'm just not that girl. I don't pretend well. And so I came in like a bull in a china shop, as I normally do, into this mastermind group. And just for a little bit of a background story, like I'm part of this mastermind group with the intention of growing and elevating my business. It's a group of successful women business owners. And so, yeah, I was late that particular day because I was just having a really shitty day, as one business owner does, right? We don't have a perfect week, month, year. We have ups and downs. And I came in and I sat down, and I just like laughed at who I was being in that moment. It was like, yes, raw, yes, authentic, yes, but it was like total chaos, and for all the right reasons, I believe. Like I was meant to meet you and we were meant to connect, but I'm just like, what did Kassidy see in me that day?
I probably was
Um,
like, same girl, same. Like, I
yep.
think, but more so, obviously, like you shared what you were going through and you experiencing. And obviously, to give context, that container is very private and none of the women in the room are going to share, what is going on in your life. But it was the fact that you came in, and to be honest, there was a lot of new people in the room that day. Like it wasn't just me. There was several people who you did not know, and you still chose vulnerability. And I think that's also what attracted me to have a conversation with you, because I was like, wow, like I mean, it's hard to be vulnerable in a room full of people that you feel safe with. And there was 6 new people sitting around that you didn't know were for anything, and you decided to just like share your truth and share where you were at professionally and personally, and that was refreshing, right? Because how many times you sit around those groups and you're like, well, my business is doing great and everything's perfect, but it's not.
Yep. Yep. Totally. And I think, I mean, this particular group, it's great because I'm around a lot of women owned businesses that are a little bit bigger than mine and have been in business longer than me. And so it's great. But honestly, for me, like what I was excited about when you reached out, I was like, okay, we're the same age. We have the same goals. We have pretty similar, like, life path right now. Like we're kind of moving into, deepening our relationships and our friendships, and we neither have kids yet. And so, like, I was very excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, how amazing is it that this day that I'm like having the worst day of my life, I have somebody who wants to be part of it with me and be, part of
Yeah,
my circle. And I appreciate people that appreciate authenticity. Like, it's not always, pretty, right? And my family and what I know about business, like, I don't come from a family of business owners, and my family doesn't really like messy. Like, we are messy, but I just grew up around an environment that you don't get messy like that
yeah,
and share that vulnerably. And I just don't believe in that. I just think it's bullshit. Like,
absolutely.
one of the things I think for me in my business that I've continued to implement is like, yes, it is a business, but I am my business. And so if, like, I'm thriving, my business is thriving, and vice versa. And like you were talking about, like how important it is to build your community and surround yourself around people who lift you up on days like that.
That's one of the reasons I love you is you have such high integrity and authenticity, and those are 2 huge values for me too. So let's dig in. I want to give people all the context of everything we're talking about. So I would love for you to share your journey to MacMo and Co Photo, and it's evolved so much, even just like in the last 2 months. I feel like your business has blown up a whole other division of it. But you are interesting because you kind of tiptoed out of your business. You weren't even going to keep your business. And now you're a full blown business owner running several different sectors. So, how
Yes.
did you get to this place that you're at today?
Yeah. So my background is in like project management and specifically in the construction. And so I started off right out of college with I actually went to school for 2 years and I got my associates in business administration. So jumped right into an asphalt company. I worked with them for a few years and I was like, oh my gosh, construction management is my jam. I know how to tell people what to do. I know how to, like organize tasks. I'm really efficient. And so I just loved it. Like I loved, everything I did. And right
Are
around
you
that
a fact
time is
finder?
when,
Or
no,
you're high
I'm
quick
not a
start?
fact finder. I'm a quick start.
Okay, I
I'm a
knew
quick
that.
start.
But when you were talking about all the things you're good at within that industry, I was like, that's fact finder. That's
Yes,
crazy.
yes. And so high quick start, which means I love big ideas. I love to jump into things. I have like this really amazing energy at the start of projects and I have very low follow through. Where in this particular industry, I think like I got to practice those skills that I wasn't necessarily great at, which is what I loved. I like getting good at things. That's just who I am. And so if there's something I'm not great at, I want to go all in and get really good at it. So yeah, and in conjunction, like I started my career and I was meeting people and I've always had a camera and I've always just kind of passively taken photos for people like, oh, hey, we have this family, we want to do photos. And so as I started to build my career, I was doing this side business, MacMo Photography, and just shooting for, people in the office. And then I went off and worked for GCW, which is an engineering firm. I wanted to learn how to read plans. And so I just laugh because they're like totally different mindsets, right? Like I'm in photography and it's like full creative freedom. I get to be who I am. There's a little bit of structure involved and making sure that you're following through on things, but very different mindset. And then I go back to my job during the day. And again, like as I'm working these jobs, I'm still like pitching people, hey, I own a business. I'd love to work with you. I have friends at GCW still that I just recently did family photos for. And so we're still friends. I still do their family photos every year. And when I worked there, I did her maternity session. I just did her and her family. They have 2 daughters now. So I just finished
Oh my
family photo shoot. And I've
gosh.
got to like watch them grow and evolve, and they've watched me grow and evolve, which is so cool.
Yeah.
And then transitioned into Martin Harris, and that's where I think it really kind of came to a head. Like I wasn't happy in that space, and everything that I thought everyone wanted me to be was like coming to a screeching halt. And it was a choice point. Like, do I want to stay in this position and do what I've done and continue to do it well and sell my business? And originally, that's what I thought I was going to do. I was going to stay in construction management, grow that career, become a project manager. Or am I going to go full time on my business? Because doing things half in, half out has never really supported me. So, and I don't think it works for anybody. It's challenging.
Yeah. Well, and it's like at some point you have to dedicate yourself to full in to either or. And
100%.
like you said, if you had sold the business, then you would, grow and build your career in a different way, or you would go into building a business, which is obviously what you decided to do. How hard was that decision, or how easy was it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I originally thought I was going through this like 3 or 4 month EQ program, and it was designed to kind of open you up and have you see what's getting in your way in your life. And so I took all of that learning and applied it directly to my business. And I'm like, me doing this side business is getting in the way of me living the life that I want, which I thought was project management. And so my initial thought was, okay, I have a friend. She's a stay-at-home mom. She's always wanted like a business that she could stay home and do. And so I was on this track of like training her and showing her how to take over my business and buy my business from me.
Wow.
And literally, like, I think it was like a week before this EQ program was done. So I'm working a full-time job at a construction company doing this EQ program, and then also deciding if I'm going to sell my business or not. It was chaos. Her and I had a complete falling out, and I just chose like, this is a sign. I was literally going to sell the business to her. We were tracking what we were going to do. She decided to take another route, which is totally fine. Well, this is an opportunity for me to just go full time on my business and give it all I have. And then if it doesn't work out, then I know. And here we are. So
Yeah.
talk about an in between moment, right?
Yeah.
Huge.
And I mean, obviously you were going through the emotional intelligence program, but I'm sure even through that, there were fears and doubts coming up because, I mean, I think the one big thing when you're thinking about going into business full time, and my story's a little different. So I didn't go from a full time job. I was already out of work, but I could assume going from a full time job, you're like, okay, now when do I get paid? Right.
Yeah.
And as a
Yep. Totally.
photographer, if you don't have weddings booked or if you don't have things booked, if it's not busy season, which we've talked about before. So did you have that little question in your head of like, okay, how do I support myself? Like, what's next?
Yeah. So I quit my job in December of 2023 and then went full time in my business in 2024. So I had the business, I've been doing photography between 8 and 9 years now, but that's when I fully launched and I was like, I'm going all the way. Let's do this. And so I will tell you, like, me and my husband sat down. So the story behind this is when the falling out with the friend happened, I called up Riley, who's another one of my really great friends. I love her so much. And she's been another really great ally in the photography world to lean on. And I called her. She's never picked up a camera, but she has this aspiration to be a photographer. And I'm like, hey, I have this massive photo shoot or this massive wedding in Napa Valley. Will you come with me and will you shoot it? And she was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you're asking me this right now. I don't even own a camera. Like, how are we going to do this? And I'm like, we're going to figure it out. And she calls me back. She's like, yes. So her and I have a buddy who resells photography gear. We go down and we meet with him and we're like, hey, we're going to just rent it out for the weekend. She's going to test it out. I'm going to train her on site on this photo shoot that day. And we're going to go and we're going to see what happens. And I'm going to bring my husband and he's going to be just stagehands for the day. So we all drive down to Napa. It was the most amazing weekend. Riley totally kills it. And I like am working with her and supporting her, and I briefed her prior to, and so she was totally set up to win. And it was just such a great experience. And we get back to the hotel and my husband, this was the first wedding he's ever gone with me. Like, we're 2 years married at this point, and he's never seen me on a wedding day. And we get back to the hotel and he's like, why are you working a full-time job? Like, it's time. It's time. Like, this is your passion. I've never seen you light up like this before. Like, you need to be doing this all the time. And
Wow.
so I was like, well, if I've ever needed a sign, like, my husband's fully on board, he supports me, let's do this.
That is
And
incredible. I've
so
never heard that
I
story. It gave me chills.
put in my notice. Yeah, I put in my notice, and then here I am. Like, we full sended. And
Yeah.
no, we didn't have a savings. We didn't have anything. We had just bought a house. We just got married, and we were like, there's no other option. This has to work.
Yeah.
Which I think is where a lot of business owners start. Like, you know, I would love to have gone back and had a savings account and had it all figured out. And it was just not like, look, we're in our 20s. We're not going to do it when we're 30. We have kids. We're not going to do it when we're 40 and we're, you know, looking at retirement age in 20 years. Like, when are we going to do it? Let's do it.
Well, and you could wait forever for the perfect timing, and
Totally.
it'll never come.
Yeah, never. I mean, even now, like, as you know, as a business owner, like, it is what it is. You make the decision and you go for it.
Yeah. You have to just lean in. And I love that you brought Riley alongside you, because it was, okay, then I'm not doing this entirely alone, which is something you and I talk about a lot, of like, you have that person to kind of lean on and talk to and really offer advice and someone to vent with on all the things.
Yeah. 100%.
And now Riley owns her own business, right?
Yeah, now she owns her own business. So I took her under my wing and I mentored her, and she loves it. She's definitely a creative and she does such a good job. And it's been such a blessing to have her as not only a friend, but also like a business partner together and working together. And I'm so grateful. Like, I am so grateful for the version of me that decided to go all in, because I don't even recognize my life anymore. It's ever evolving, and it's, you know, I think back, like, I could be working a 9 to 5 right now, and I get to make my own schedule, and I get to, you know, schedule out when I want to work and who I get to work with. It's a dream.
Yeah. So what has been your biggest lesson since you decided to go all in?
Oh, biggest lesson. I think honestly, like this, so for anybody who doesn't know me and doesn't know this year, I was working a wedding. I was building a contract this year, and I was negotiating a contract with a wedding venue to be their photographer company. So I would manage all of the photographers that do all of the weddings for this particular venue. And I scheduled like the day one wedding to be kind of the trial for me and my company. We're going to come in and we're going to kind of take over this, you know, this huge undertaking. And it was going to be anywhere from a $400,000 to $600,000 contract for the year. So it was huge for me and my business. I was like, yes, let's go. Well, on the wedding day, I tripped and I rolled my ankle, and I not only broke my ankle, but dislocated it, fell back on a staircase, and they had to shut down the wedding. And this all happened in April. And so I've been out of work like the last, I don't know, give or take 6 months. And then coming right out of having an ankle break, I rolled right into busy season. So it's been a year. I would say this ankle break has been the biggest lesson for me. Number one, like, I'm really proud of her, right? Back in April, I went for this massive contract. I didn't end up getting it, by the way. I broke my ankle the day that I was supposed to sign contracts. During that moment, like, I was so upset and I felt so defeated, because I was like, dang, like, I was so close, right? I was like on the edge of my tipping point of like blowing up my business. And then that happened. And what I know now in this moment is I was going to undercharge them, right? It was going to take up all of my time. And I didn't charge enough to be able to replace myself. So God forbid something did happen, I would have to do the work regardless. And so for me, the biggest learning, I think, is like, as business owners, we need to be pricing ourselves to replace ourselves. Because as I've learned this year, things happen and they're not planned. And right, I need to be prepared for that.
Yeah. And
So thank
that's
God
a
I
hard
was set
lesson.
up, like I was contracted and I've done all the right things. I have an LLC, like I've done all the right things on the business side, but that was a big learning for me. Like if I'm going to say yes to something, it's priced right, it's worth my time, and I can price myself out of it and I can have someone else and hire someone else to do the work. God forbid something happened to me.
Well, and it's easy to, especially in those first couple years of business, you're so thirsty to just get whatever business you can get. And if you're like, hey, I charged $1,000 and someone says, oh, well, I can do 600, you're like, sold. Like, it is so easy. And I've learned that really in the last year or two as well, mostly on a burnout front of like, I am doing so much work and not getting paid what I should be, or the business isn't making what it should be. And it takes a very long time to learn that lesson and to get the confidence to charge what you're worth. And I think it's something I admire in you because you're very good at sales. It's the quick start in you. You love to have the conversations. And I always say you sell me better than I sell myself because it is one of those things of like value. And you recently made a switch in your business, not even a switch because you still offer all the things, but you got really passionate about branding and really helping business owners build their brands. So can you tell me a little bit about like, had that always been an interest and you were like safety zone families, safety zone weddings, or was it something like newfound passion, new thing I want to add to my bucket?
Yeah, I think honestly, coming out of the ankle break and really having 6 months to look at my business and go, you know, if and when my business is thriving, right? And I think this is a practice and it's good for all business owners to do. If I were to 10x my business, what would that look and feel like in my business? And am I aligned currently? Am I charging currently those rates to be able to get to that place? And what I found is number one, like for me in the space of photographers and wedding photographers, there's so many in Las Vegas. And I've been doing this such a long time that I've watched this wave come in. And there are photographers that are better than me, right? There are photographers that are not as great as me. There are photographers that are priced better than me and photographers that are priced underneath me. And so I feel like what I once used to do, which was filling a gap that there needed to be more creative wedding photographers in Vegas, the gap has been filled. And I think it's been overfilled, right? There's such an abundance of, if you look up photographer Las Vegas, right, you're going to get, a million options of who to book. And like a lot of them are my friends. And so for me, I think looking at really like a win-win. If I were to be winning in my business and if my clients were to be winning, what would that exchange look and feel like? And for me, I think for specifically for me building this business and learning that I get to replace myself, learning that sustainability in my business is important to me. To me, I thought, why am I not offering packages, retainer packages, right? Essentially what I started to build with this wedding venue back in April and what I was pitching, but pricing it right. So I could work with a small business. They get to work with me. They have access to me when they need it to support them in all the things in event coverage, in headshots, in branding photos. So now there's a niche again, right? That there's actually a need that most photographers are not filling it. Small businesses need, with the era that we're in and where we're heading with social media, as you know, right? There's a niche and there's a need for businesses to be showcasing what they do and who they are professionally. And
Yeah.
so that's really where I think my next step is headed. I've been the last maybe 2 or 3 months, I've been building it, and I have 4 new clients that are on retainer already, which is so exciting. And,
So
you know,
exciting.
as somebody who's been doing this for 8 years and I've always been kind of a one-off project girl and I just keep going and I keep hustling, to have retainer income that comes in every
Best.
month.
It's the
What a
best.
life.
Yep.
What is this life? And
No,
why didn't I know this so long ago?
retainer as a service-based business is incredible. It is, obviously it's a year, it's a month contract, but I do mine even monthly, and most people, I am blessed that they stick around, and it's so, so, so useful. But I think one of the things that you're doing differently is offering retainer, because that's not something that photographers often, think they need. That's one of the gaps we've noticed, right? Is they don't know what they don't know. But also, you're really good at identifying the gaps, and you're really good at telling people what the gaps are and educating them. And I think that's what's going to make you successful in this next phase of the business, is because you're the one telling them what they need, because they don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what they don't need, or they don't know what they do need. And so it's like, by you educating them, it almost sells it just then and there, because then they're like, oh yeah, wait, why don't I have this service?
Totally.
Why am I not spending this money?
And most small business owners are booking a photographer anywhere from 4 to 6 times a year anyway. And so when they're doing that, they're going in and they're basically starting over every time. Well, how frustrating is that, right? Like when you have somebody that does a service, your hairstylist, for example, you don't want to have to keep having these consultations and this is who I am and this is my hair type, right? It's the same for photos. Like I want to know your business, and I want to know what you're creating in your business, and I want to know, like what lights you up about your business. That's what I want to capture. And so having somebody that you can work with all the time on a consistent basis, that's where you're going to start to see the return on investment as well, because photography is an investment.
Yeah, it is. And I think, and I've told you this before, people don't realize the difference that it makes in making a brand professional, right? And I'm in social media, so I understand the importance and I see the value. I mean, you can get away without having it on socials if you're doing it right. But I mean, website, no. I mean, you need to be able to be seen clearly and professionally. And I think that's something that we've both had many conversations on, is the gap between people thinking they can do it themselves, thinking they have someone on their team who's doing it great. Your HR person can't run your social media. No. Your husband should not be taking your headshots, right? Like, we can use that excuse, and I'm guilty of it. We talked about that right before the call, right? Like, we're all guilty of filling these spots with the person that's cheaper, easier, potentially free. Like, that is what every business owner wants to do. We're all in the same boat. But the conversation we have with people, and we now collaborate on socials and photos and video, is what would it look like if you had someone who was purposefully elevating? And your service is different because you actually are diving into who the client is, what they're wanting to expand on. So it's not just pictures. It can just be a headshot if that's what they want, but it goes so much further than that, to be used for socials, to be used for website, whatever it is. And I think that makes it even more unique because it gives it personality. And that's the thing that people are missing online, is the personality and the authenticity.
Yeah, 100%. I think, I've talked to so many business owners, and they've reached out to me and they're like, they have this terrible experience with this photographer because, they booked them for headshots. They showed up, they did the photos. They did essentially exactly what they asked for, right? But what was missing was the being able to be personable, right? And understanding the business and understanding, like, me as a photographer, I don't know everybody's business ins and outs. I don't know what it's taken. I don't know what you want to be communicating through the photos, right? And as we're kind of transitioning between, like, there being a clear separation between having a social presence, right? And then also having professional branding done and having visual assets that represent who you are and what you're selling and what you're communicating to your clients. If you're not on the photo game at this point, you're behind.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're not on the social game at this point, you're behind.
Yep.
And I think we both have, been running into those conversations. Like, people just don't know what they don't know, and they think they can do it themselves. And, I'm sure there's lots of people that can dye their hair at home, but would probably not want to do that because it just wouldn't support them long term to be bleaching their hair in their bathroom at home when they're not a professional, right? Can they get the job done? Sure. Can they do it at a cheaper cost? Sure. But what are you actually giving up, right? You're giving up your time. You're spending it in areas that you're not qualified. What would you do with that time if you could get it back and use it somewhere else? If you weren't running your social media, right? You are essentially, as a business owner, the sales person for your business. Usually people are spending it doing socials and they don't even like socials. Like, why are you spending so much time there if it doesn't light you up?
Yep.
And you're not good at it. I said it. You're not.
And you're
Like,
not good at it, which is the truth. It is the
yeah.
truth. And, you know, that's been interesting too. I feel like both of us have been having a lot of conversations. So, Makayla and I are partnered, and basically, she is my sister photography company. I am her sister's social company. So, we do a lot of pitching, both separate and together, because if you need socials, you most likely need photos and vice versa. And so, we have a lot of conversations. And one of the things that I often hear coming up is, you know, I just had one yesterday. They hired a huge company, which is great. I hope to be a huge company one day. But they have an account manager, and then they have a videographer showing up for the shoot who has no idea what's going on. They feel disconnected to the project, and now the client's running what they want, right? And so when I was having this conversation with this potential client, I was telling him, I said, that happens. There's disconnect when it's a larger company, and that's not for everybody. I don't think that every company runs that way. But one of the things that I'm grateful for in being smaller is that I am able to keep attention to all the details, right? And I'm able to have a certain level of integrity and value with each project that I take on to make sure that those things don't slip through the cracks, to make sure I have the right people in the right spots. That if I'm telling you need photos and I send you to Makayla, they're going to get done just as if I could do the photos myself, which I can't. So, you know what I mean? And this idea of, and you mentioned it in the beginning, like, I do believe that business is personal, and, you know, it stems from us because we all started businesses. And guess what? My business's values are things that are high on my value list. So how could that not be personal? And so talking to this client about this problem, I think the problem there is that the values got mixed up somewhere, right? And someone is not in the right role. They maybe sent the quick start out there who didn't have the plan together or whatever it is. And I am so excited for what we're working on together and what we're building, because it is that really small, exciting, structured, all of us are bringing what we're great at. And that's the thing, right? Like, we developed really early on in the beginning, which Makayla and I are a part of the same community in the sense that if you've listened to past episodes with Gail, with Lisa, and the Colby and all of those things, we speak a different language, but we're really in tune with who we are as individuals and how we work. And so that was something we started to navigate at first when we started working together, is like, Makayla one time sat down, and I'm not even kidding you, I think you did 10 cold calls in front of me. And I was sitting there like, it takes me weeks to make one call. Like, I'll send an email any day. I was in shock. I am not a sales girl. Like, I can make the sale when it's true to who I am, but like, I will not reach out. Makayla is totally opposite. She is a shark, and she will go and do whatever she needs to do. I am more of, okay, you closed it. Here's the idea. Here's the template. Here's how we're going to do this execution, right? So it's a really beautiful marriage to ensure that you as the client or whoever it is doesn't have this jumble, doesn't have this experience. They experience value. They experience authenticity. And in developing our relationship and how we work together, it's just been really refreshing I always explain it to you as like, I'm in business with you, but nothing on paper, right? Like, we're not sitting here and we're not splitting out and we're both co-founders. We're running our own things, but we're in business together and building that community. And I want to talk about that more, because I think for so many years, that's what I lacked, is like, I'm doing this all alone. I have to run this entire business by myself, which of course I still run my business by myself, but it's less heavy. Does that resonate?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, when I worked in construction and I had the photography company as a side gig, I think honestly, naturally, I had my community of who I spoke to throughout the day in my day job. And so I didn't ever feel like there was a need for me to have a community. And so I fell into this kind of, it's competitive, it's this, it's that, right?
Yep.
And then what happened was I made the jump. And I was like, okay, I'm going to work for myself. And the first 2 weeks of being home in my own office at my house, and I'm like, who do I call? Who do I like?
No one to meet at the water cooler.
Right. When I go make coffee, it's in my kitchen and it's just me. Right. And so immediately for me, because I am very social, I was like, this isn't going to work. Like, I am super committed to growing together with people around me.
Yep.
That's always been a value of mine. And so the first thing I did was like reached out to 10 photographers and, hey, I don't know if you're open and I don't know if you even know who I am, but I'd love to meet you and have coffee. Right. And that's kind of the approach that you took when, we originally met. Like, hey, I don't really know you, but here's like, I'd love to have coffee and just chat. And so I think that like for anybody who gets a little bit nervous around that, like that's a great entry point. Anybody will spend 30 minutes having coffee and chatting with another human being. Like,
Yeah. And you just have to be natural. I've sat down with so many people that think I'm like coming to pitch them. And I'm like, no, I just want to hear about your business, right? Like, and there are going to be people that maybe say no and they're competitors or whatever it is. And I've sat down with plenty of social media managers as well. But if you have the belief that there's enough for everyone, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
yep.
matter, right? Because it's like, you're going to get the people that are meant for you. I'm going to get the people that are meant for me. And in the case of you and I connecting, I was more interested in the fact that you were also the youngest person in the room, which you touched on, right? Because I mean, I'm 30 now, but for the last 5 years, people are looking at me like, who is this blonde social media girl? Like, no one, what's going on? They think I'm like, I'm nothing compared to these big construction guys. You know what I mean? But now I'm having calls with construction people because they're like, well, I need social. Exactly, right? So to connect with someone who's also in your age range, doing similar things, and in our case, now we're able to connect and have that relationship where we're working on similar clients, if not the same clients, is so, so valuable. And I was just talking to Lisa today about it of like you mentioned, whether you're social or not, you have to have that community and you have to have those people that like literally just this week, Makayla and I called each other several times. I was joking. I was like, I call you more than I call my boyfriend because I'm calling and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got off this call. It's horrible. I need to just vent and then I need a reframe. And it's like, okay, that is our water cooler, right? Like that's our version of like, let me get it out and let me just like vent, but also get like productive feedback. And I think it's been really valuable too, because we have obviously a lot of the same beliefs, but we also have gone through a lot of the same coaching and we've been coached in certain ways that allow us to speak in a specific language and encourage each other in a way that makes sense, that we resonate with.
100%. Yeah. I think, I mean, I was taught for so long, like, you're not allowed to feel these things, right? And it's like, that's just doesn't work, right? When we're in business owners and we're in breakdown, and by breakdown, something happened, I'm frustrated in this moment, I need to get it out. And so I'm a verbal processor. The first thing I'm going to do is pick up the phone and call someone in my circle and say, hey, I'm going through this and I'm frustrated and I need to just let it out. And then I want to reframe, right? I don't want to stay in my crap. I got stuff to do, right? We have things that we have to do as business owners. And so having a community, especially like us this last time, like with all of our skill sets and with, my ability to just go out and meet people and call people and do all these things, there's breakdowns in me, like on follow through side. And I'll call you and I'll say, hey, like, I thought I did this, or this is what I need support in. And then you're able to shine and support me in the ways that you know how and know best.
Yeah.
So,
and that's one thing that was fun. The other day, Makayla is in the part of her business where she's building out tools and systems. And, she's getting ready to go on a fun vacation with her family. So we were discussing my favorite topic, which is tools and systems. I am someone who creates them and I copy and paste, don't mess with my systems. And, she was able to start maybe implementing those in the way that makes sense for her business and plan out her weeks and all of those things. And so it's like being able to not spin your wheel and just ask someone who knows and has a system or has a way that they do something that will benefit you, right? And I thought this was so cool, and it won't make sense to anyone who's listening to this who doesn't have a business, but being that I am a solopreneur at this point, I'm the only one ever on my sales calls or like any call, right? So there's only so much you can do to like give feedback. And so Makayla and I have now been on several, you call them sales calls, but they're really just like pitching our services and explaining what we do. And it was so cool the first time that we did that because we both got off the phone and we were like, oh my gosh, you're incredible. Like, you're so good at that sales. Like, everything was so good. And to hear Makayla's feedback about me and how I presented my business and what we do was such an incredible like boost of confidence, because for me, I don't love those calls because you never know how they're going to go. You never know if someone's actually interested or not. So to have someone basically being a fly on the wall, right? Because Makayla pitched her stuff, I was pitching mine, and then afterwards to come together and be like, dude, you killed it. Like, you were so this and that. Like, that was so valuable to me because, again, as a solopreneur, you don't get those opportunities to have a real time fly on the wall as you have a call.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I mean, I think like just in the last like 2 months and what we've been building and working on, I feel like we've elevated so much. And that would, for me, was one of the biggest places is like to sit on a call and to be able to emotionally too bounce back and forth, right? So we have this client who's interested in both of our services, and we're just people, and so we jump on the call and we're like, hey, this is us, we'd love to meet you, we'd like to talk all the things, tell us about your business. And it is really nice, like, to hear Kassidy and the way that she explains her business and what she's able to provide. I was like, wow, you did such a good job. Like, okay, like, did I do okay? And she's like, you did amazing.
I was like, this is the half I need. And then Makayla was like, we're booking a social media audit now.
Right now.
No, but it really is like, it's so useful. And I just want to give perspective too, because I feel like maybe if you're looking on from the outside, you're like, man, these people must be killing it. We don't even have a client together yet. Like, we haven't even made a sale together yet. And I'm not saying that to like, just, crap on us, but like, I say that because we're still trying, we're still working through. And Makayla has gotten her individual clients out of it, and I've gotten my individual clients, and we have a couple right now in talks who potentially will have retainers with both of us. But that's not the point, right? The point is that eventually we're going to be working side by side on things. And how my business works specifically, like, photos come up all the time. So whatever you're working on, and whether you're working with someone else or not, it takes time. And we met, was it October, September? No, I think it was September.
Yeah, September.
So 2.5, 3 months, we've been friends. We quickly started developing this concept. After our first meeting, we started brainstorming, and that's really when Makayla was kind of diving into her part of it. And then just recently, we've really been aggressive with getting on calls and pitching people. And so it's going to take time. Anything that's good takes time. And you have to know that whatever you're doing is right, and it's going to eventually evolve if you're consistent. And I think that's the biggest piece in anything. I talk about it all the time, is consistency. Like, the more you show up and just be who you are and lean into what you're doing, you're going to get the most incredible result. And I think with your story, particularly in this last year, like, you decided to be consistent after your ankle situation, which could have totally defeated you, totally crushed you, ended your business, put you in a whole different path. And you said, no, how can I rework this, get back into it, more passionate than ever, more excited than ever. And you've transformed everything in the span of 2-3 months, right? And so, like, that's what choosing your thought process differently in an in-between moment can give you.
Totally. Yeah, I think there's, and even with the ankle break, like, I made a declaration for what I wanted to hit in my business last year, and it was 75K. And that was my promise to myself, that when I went full-time in my business, as long as I made more than I made in my 9 to 5, I'll keep going. Right. Yeah. And I hit 85K in my first year. And like, that was such a win. And I think the cool part is, like, it's actually being able to do it again. Like, not even that I was so excited that I hit my number the first year, because I was just quick starting it all the way.
Yeah.
But to go, okay, I'm going to do that again. Right. And this year, like, I'm still on track for that 85, which is so exciting.
Which you took
even with
about
not working
6 months
for 6
off.
months
Yep.
off. Right. Totally. So I'm like, it will work.
For retainers. So now you already have that for the next year. Like,
yep.
That's insane.
Yep. So already have the consistent income moving into next year. And like, the partnerships, right? Like, to me, yes, of course I want my business to win. Yes, of course I want to pay my bills, but ultimately I want to live a life that I'm proud of.
Mm-hmm.
And with people that I'm proud of. Like, when I show up in the room and I show up with the people that I care about, like, it feels like home. It feels safe. It feels inviting. It feels fun. It feels like we're unstoppable. And we're all going to be super nervous about when we make these big declarations, but we're going to hold each other accountable because we know we can do it. And we're up to big things, and we're doing it together.
Yeah. And let me tell you, more brains, the better. Even if you're a solopreneur, and even if that's where you want to stay, right? Like, you don't need a co-founder. You don't need other people in your business. You just need other people to brainstorm and be like, what if you did it this way? What if you tried this? Oh, that doesn't work for me. Try something else. And I think, you know, for me in the last couple months, having you to sit beside me and help me with certain things and navigate situations and work together, and just the momentum, like I have felt more momentum in the past 2 months of like getting things done and having new conversations than I have my entire business, because I'm just feeding off of someone who's excited and you're feeding off of me. Right. So I think if anything, if you're in this position where you're like, oh, I'm struggling, I'm feeling a block, find community wherever that is, and try your best to find community that are, one, like-minded, but two, in the same situation as you. Like I told someone today, I said, I have my business family, and they don't necessarily, you know, maybe they don't know my whole personal life or all these other things, but they understand my business, they understand what I'm doing, and they get it because they're in those positions too. What advice do you have for someone who is in the in-between? They're hypothetically broken ankle, up on their bed, up on their couch right now. Nothing's going to work. I don't know what I'm going to do next. What advice do you have for them?
I think honestly, for me, one of the biggest things I would say to somebody who's in the in-between is like, number one, trust yourself, right? There was a lot of times that I was getting feedback during that 6-month process that was not warranted or I didn't want. And there were a lot of mentors that, coming from the best place and the best heart, they loved me and they wanted me to win and they wanted me to move. And I was like a stone wall. Like I was unmovable, right? And it wasn't because I was committed to being stubborn. I was taking a moment to pause and to see what I want. And so I think that, like, if you need permission to sit and take a pause in your own life and see what for you is going to be the best life for you, and you don't know what that is, it's okay to not take action. Because we're in a world and a culture right now that's like, take action, take action. And I agree with that. But I think as a woman, we have a lot of really beautiful innate wisdom in us. And sometimes when we're moving and moving and moving and we're in our masculine, we can't even hear it.
Mm-mm.
And so when, for me, like breaking my ankle, taking that pause was the biggest gift. And as much as I wanted to move, I knew that I couldn't until I was ready.
Yeah. I
And
love
that's
that
okay.
point. I love it because it's truly one of those things of like, you can have all the mentors in the world and they could mean the best for you, but sometimes it's too much noise. So keep your circle small and most importantly, listen to yourself.
Yeah, 100%. One of my favorite mentors, Lisa, she's a part of our circle. She's like, tune out the noise. Like the only person that you get to listen to is you in this moment and what's best for you. And I've continued to follow that and listen to that this year. And I will continue to listen to it because, you know, my business was started by me and I know what's best for my business. And as, you know, as many mentors and all of the information and the feedback and all the things that we get are supportive, sometimes it's good to just pause and take a moment and allow yourself to be in the experience and take action when you're ready.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. I feel like we have to have a whole other episode on like relationships and all the things, because I have just learned so much from you and how you've spent time like learning about yourself, learning about how you're developing relationships, and what you just being specific on the people that you have in your circle to help you move forward and what your goals are. But I want to make sure that anyone that was listening to this knows where they can find you, learn more about all the beautiful photos you take. So can you let everyone know your website, your socials, all those good things?
Yeah. So if you're looking to book a photo shoot, I have a booking link on my website. It's MacMo Photo, so PHOTO.com. MacMoPhoto.com. That's where you can inquire and we can schedule a discovery call to talk about all things photos. And then you can also find me on Instagram. It's macmo.photo. So MacMo.photo.
Awesome. And we will link everything in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to follow at In Between Convos on Instagram, and we'll catch you next time. Have a great day.